My next guest is a resilient and inspiring Asian woman who gracefully balanced the roles of a devoted mother and dedicated professional. Widowed at a really challenging moment in her life, she faced the heart-wrenching loss of her husband, and when she was 7 months pregnant with her beautiful son. She was undeterred by adversity that life presented her, and she embarked on a courageous journey of navigating widowhood and motherhood simultaneously. She now works as a locum optometrist. She is the incredible Dulari. So Dulari, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here. It's an honor.
So Dulari, you were at my event a few weeks ago.
Yes.
So obviously when this airs, it'll be like, I think it'll be March time, but I've obviously been following you for quite a while, seen you on various podcasts and just been so inspired by your story. But of course, it's such a sad story. But as before we came into this podcast, actually, I was saying what I found so inspiring about you is how you hold the duality of different emotions. So obviously you had this such a tragic, life-changing, gut-wrenching event that happened in your life, but then the way you have navigated it like has just been so incredible and so inspiring.
Thank you.
And you know, I can't even begin to imagine what it must have been like, but I know that, you know, so many people wouldn't have the strength and the courage to go on like you have done. So should we just like rewind to the beginning, and if you just let us know and the listeners know like what happened and how it all unfolded?
Yeah, so it's like 2.5, nearly 3 years ago now. I was 7 months pregnant, very, very nervous and excited. It was my first child. Xian was extremely excited. But yeah, basically, very, very sadly and very tragically, one morning, Xian just didn't wake up. So literally in that 1 second, my life changed forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been, I guess, building myself back up from that moment since.
Yeah.
I've got a beautiful, beautiful little boy who looks just like his dad. His mannerisms are so similar to Xiam. It's uncanny, actually. And I'm just really enjoying being his mum.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now.
And obviously, you know, I've listened to your story before, Dulari. Like, he was fit and healthy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was fit and healthy, sporty, full of life. Like, it wasn't like he was suffering with any ailments or anything. It just come out of nowhere. And yeah, he just didn't wake up one morning.
And you were obviously there, right, when it all unfolded?
Yeah.
And it was literally just like, he just wasn't waking up.
Yeah.
And like, what did like the doctors and everyone say?
It's pretty inconclusive.
Yeah.
And just a bit confusing, to be honest. Didn't really get any closure from it.
Yeah.
Just had to just continue and carry on.
Yeah. And obviously you were like 7 months pregnant at the time. And obviously there must have been, you know, you must have been in such a distressed state, obviously. How did you just like look after yourself in that situation?
In that moment, I do remember I took a second when I knew that, right, this is permanent, this is final. I took a second, I held my stomach, and I just took a breath. And I was like, okay, this is it. You need to figure this out. And I had amazing support from my family. My parents and my brother literally jumped in the car and drove to my house immediately and didn't leave. Like, they stayed with me. And like very shortly after, my other brother, my 2 sister-in-laws, their tiny little babies, brought them and moved in with me as well. And it was quite far away. It's Essex to Leicester is quite
a distance. Yeah.
So I just had to think about my emotions and my body. I didn't have to function like everyone else. I didn't have to think about food. I didn't have to think about the house. I didn't have to think about anything else. I just had to think about me and the baby.
Yeah.
And all I was telling myself is that you have to get through the pregnancy safely. There's just no other option.
Yeah.
So I prioritized my pregnancy above everything else.
Yeah.
And I didn't prioritize my grief, and I chose to do that. I was obviously very, very sad, and I was coping with it as best as I could. But you know when you feel really sad and you know that you feel sad, and there's a point at which you let go and you let yourself be really sad and like you'll cry loudly. You know when you just allow yourself to do that?
Yeah.
I wasn't allowing myself to do that on purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's strenuous, it's stressful, and that stress goes on your baby.
Yeah, of course.
So that's what I was focusing on initially. And thereafter, I had obviously prepared myself and told myself as well, like, you have to process this. You can't just bury it. I'm going to do it after I have the baby. And then I'm going to be like, right, let it out because it will eat you up otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
And obviously, if you just bury that trauma, it just festers, doesn't it? And it, you know, can come out in different ways further down the line.
Come out, I feel like it could destroy you.
Yeah, 100%. And how did you, like, at the time, did you have any practices that you were kind of turning to?
At the time, initially, no. After a few months and I got my head in the right place, then I was like, right, find solutions.
Yeah.
Before, I was just trying to get through each day.
Yeah, of course.
And my mum used to tell me, I had a conversation with my mum at that time. At the end of the day, I would say, oh, that's another day done. And she asked me one day, she was like, oh, why do you keep saying that? And I said, oh, it's another day done living without Xian. And then she was just like, oh, like that's how she's processing this in her head. She's like, oh, it's another day without Xian. I was just trying to get through the day. One day at a time, just get through the day. And mum was like, yeah, just do that. Just get through the day, one day at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, like there's a lot in our culture when someone passes away as well. Like there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people around you. There's a lot to get through.
I was just about to say that because last year we lost my uncle who was quite young. And it was, again, completely out of the blue. Like he just didn't wake up. Like his wife was next to him and his son was there and he tried to do CPR. And we'd seen him before, a few weeks before, at my cousin's 40th. And he was the younger sibling. So it was like a massive shock to us. And I remember, obviously, it was a bit complicated at the time because me and my cousins weren't talking. It was that kind of relationship and it'd been like that for a few years. But obviously, as soon as we found out, like me and my parent, it was really complicated because my dad was really sick at the time. But we literally dropped everything and went. And then obviously the whole family were there. You know, no, I don't think like the ambulance had obviously come and been, but they said like, I think my auntie was very much like, I want the whole family to be here to grieve together and then they can obviously like take him. Yeah. And the coroner was literally just outside actually as we were parking up. But I remember like we all had like our moment and the family were coming, like just close family. And obviously it's just the shock, like the shock of it all was just, it's so crazy. And I think in our culture, because we do get to see obviously like we did like, you know, the body like multiple times. And I remember like coming downstairs and we're all just like in the room with like family members, just catching our breath, getting a cup of tea, just having water, just everyone's quiet. And literally like they were like, oh, like so-and-so's outside now, who's like not close family. They're just like, you know, kind of extended family friends. And then I remember like everyone was like, okay, like the budding, the ladies go separate, the men go separate. And it was like, we just didn't even get an opportunity to like, just grieve like that moment. And
like it had to be like, okay, people are turning up.
Yeah.
Back to protocol.
Exactly. And like, I think in our Sikh culture, like, I think in the Gujarati and Hindu culture, like, I think I've heard like they just say like only come on certain days, or they put a message out. But with us, you can't do that. Like it would be so like frowned upon if we just said, oh, actually people only come on certain days. And I remember like my auntie, who's obviously had a stroke and not very well, like, and just having to relive the story.
Everyone comes and speaks to you about it.
Yeah. And like every day, like my mum, I didn't go every day. My mum was there every day, but it's like, oh my God, like that's so much. Like up until the ashes were done in the UK. And it's like, God, like our culture is so, I don't even know what the word is, but it's so difficult to navigate.
It can be difficult. Yeah. And it's hard as well because people are doing it with no ill intent.
Oh yeah, no malice at all.
There's no malice. There's only love and concern. But I think some people don't understand that certain questions are triggering. Certain questions make the day harder for someone who's grieving, and they're not asked out of malice. Sometimes it's ignorance.
Yeah.
And different generations.
Yes.
Like we are so much more in tune with our mental health and understanding what stresses us out and what doesn't. And it wasn't like that before. So it's difficult to fault them as well.
Of course.
But it makes it harder.
Especially with the older generation, like bless them, they have no filter.
Yeah.
So, and you can't, I mean, sometimes they say things and you're like, why? But I guess with you, like with that situation, like, how did you manage? Because I'm imagining like lots of people came round, like.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, no one came to my house.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone was coming to my in-laws' house, which is a stone's throw away. Like we lived very, very close. But everything that was happening at Sham's parents' house.
Yeah.
Which I was grateful for. It gave me space to have like downtime and stuff like that, because I was so heavily pregnant.
Yeah.
I also constantly needed to rest.
Yeah.
I think I only let people into my house that were my friends of my generation.
Yeah.
That were going to come and sit with me and spend like an hour with me, not to grieve, not to, do you know what I mean?
Just be normal.
Just to sit on the sofa with me and have a cup of tea. Because what I desperately needed was normality, not people coming to my house to cry.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I was not crying.
Yeah.
I was not doing that. So it would be certain conversations with certain people, almost you felt the need to console someone. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to console anyone. I didn't want to speak to anyone.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to look at anyone.
Yeah. And did you find like in our culture, like there was a lot of like obviously it's really horrific what happened to you, but like almost like a lot of like pity, like.
Yeah. And again, I feel bad because it's their way of showing love and their way of saying, I'm so sorry this happened to you. But some people it works for, and some people it's like, oh, I feel like people have made an effort with me and people care. But for me, it makes me want to shut down. And I was in situations, especially right at the start, where I was consoling other people. And I just didn't have, it sounds horrible to say it, but I'll be blunt. I'm quite a blunt person. I didn't have the energy.
Of course.
So I didn't really struggle with any of that because my parents were living in my house and it was like I had bodyguards.
Yeah.
Because if I wanted to see someone, then yeah, they would come. And if I didn't, they would very kindly say like, today is not the day.
Yeah, that's great.
But also, if I didn't want to speak to anyone, I think after about a week, I started kind of zoning out. And if I didn't want to speak to anyone, I just didn't even make an effort. I would just sit there. And if they wanted to say something to me, I would respond. And if they didn't, I'd just sit there next to them and be like, I'm quite comfortable with the silence.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like other people in this situation may have struggled a lot more if someone was sitting next to them that they didn't want to speak to, but they felt they had to say something. because a lot of people would feel compelled.
Yeah.
But I just knew what I needed at the time.
Yeah.
I think the one thing about me is that I know is that I'm very self-aware. And I knew that me consoling someone else at that time, like a week in, it was going to make me bitter. It would have made me angry going forward, because I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't want to see anyone. So I just didn't speak. I was kind. I was respectful. But where it wasn't needed and where it wasn't warranted, I wouldn't speak. I wouldn't fill gaps.
Yeah. And do you think like, was it like everyone just kind of because I'm trying to put myself in this situation. And I think my parents would just be like, they might find it awkward telling people,
this is what we have to do.
Yeah, this is what we're doing now. Like, she's not talking about it. Like, she's doing her own thing because obviously she's pregnant. But like,
they'd find it hard.
Yeah. And so was it like your parents basically told everyone? Was it that kind of thing, or was it like an unspoken rule?
No, they told everyone.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's so good.
They did tell everyone. And they did it very respectfully and very calmly and kindly. Everyone was grieving. People that wanted to be with me were also grieving.
Yeah.
And most people were very respectful of that request. And some people got a bit hurt by it. And some people got a bit angry because they felt they had a right to come and see me and a right to come to my house and sit with me. And I mean, it doesn't affect me, and I don't mind, because that's the way I've been brought up. My mum and dad have raised me to not be concerned if other people are trying to make me feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's actually not about me. That's about them.
100%.
And I'm not willing to take that on right now. I've got enough on.
Yeah.
So if that's upset you, respectfully, I'm sorry you're hurt. I can't take that on right now. And I learned that from them. So they were dealing with it very well, because I don't have to be like this from them.
Yeah, 100%. I love that so much, because I think it takes a strong set of parents to say that, especially like with our culture as well, because it's so like, I feel like when, especially that grief process, it like my cousin explained it perfectly last year. She was like, it's like an outcry of like, it's like public grieving almost. That's what it felt like for us every time anyone has like passed in our family. It's just everyone. And I can see obviously why everyone comes round, and it's nice, you know, and sometimes the mood can be quite light, you know, like everyone will crack jokes or just think about old memories. But it's I feel like it's quite invasive as well, especially in our Sikh culture is like, I think it's got like a little way to go until people start saying like, oh, these are the days you can come, because people would just be absolutely, I think they would just be so offended. But I think also it's like the stereotype we have in our minds around like grief and like widowhood as well, isn't it? From like the Bollywood films where
everything comes off. You wear white.
Like I've literally got that. I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know if you've seen that film Sholay, and like Jaya Bhadri or Jaya Bachchan's in it, and she literally just throughout the film does not say a word. You know, she's in white. She looks completely miserable throughout the film, and it's like that's the kind of.
It's like you're almost expected to be in a permanent state of mourning.
Yeah, that is so true. Yes. And have you found, like, obviously now it's like completely different. We're in 2024. But do you think like people expected you to be a certain way maybe?
I don't know if people expected it. I was a bit confused initially.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what I should be doing, because when I was younger, I mean, it's different in every culture. Like even within Gujarati culture, things are different within different communities. But I remember my mom telling me that I don't cover my head until I'm married, like when I do puja and like prayers and things. So I used to be really excited. Like, oh, when I get married, I'm going to cover my head when I go to the mandir and do the pujas and stuff. And I was so excited after I got married to wear my sindoor. Like I always wore it with my Indian outfits. If I was wearing Indian clothes, I always wore sindoor. And being excited as a girl growing up, then I was like, what happens now? Like, do I still cover my head?
Yeah.
Or do I not cover my head? Like, I was confused. Do I wear my wedding ring? Do I not wear my wedding ring? Like, I was just confused.
Yeah.
Then, do I wear a chandlo, a bindi?
Yeah.
Do I not wear it? And I can't remember. It was about something specific. I can't remember what it was about, but it was about something specific. I asked my mum if I should do it. I think it might have been a chandlo.
Yeah.
And I was like, do I put it on or not? And she was literally like, none of these rules apply to you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to ask me these questions ever again. Whatever you feel comfortable doing or whatever you want to do, you do that. If you want to wear it, you wear it.
Yeah.
There are no rules for you that are different to everybody else. So I never felt like I can't do this because I'm a widow, I can't do that. Like, obviously you'd have certain days like where you're like, I'm not going to do this because I don't, like, my husband passed away. And do you know what I mean? Like, I used to get a bit grumpy with it, like only with my immediate family. But like, oh, I can't do that now because I'm not married anymore, am I?
Yeah.
But I would never like I'll wear colourful clothes.
Yeah.
I'll wear my jewellery. I'll wear everything. The only thing I didn't wear again is my sindoor.
Yeah.
I didn't wear that again. And I just really associate it with a married woman.
Yeah, of course.
And I just like to keep it that way.
Yeah, 100%.
And I at the time, obviously I've said it in many podcasts before, like I felt like I was still in a relationship for quite a long time. It's been nearly 3 years now. I definitely don't feel that way. So I would feel strange wearing sindoor. Like, it just wouldn't feel right to me.
Yeah. And I think also, I just think it goes back to that stereotypes, isn't it? Like, can't wear bright clothes, all of those things that we've just been fed. In terms of like Dulari, the funeral, was that quite soon after then?
Yeah. Yeah, it was all organised and sorted out by Shyam's family. They handled all of the details, and like, I'm really grateful for it because there's a lot that goes into a funeral.
Yeah, of course.
It was during COVID times as well, so there was only 30 people.
Oh, wow.
In the funeral, but it was streamed. So I think there was like 500 people that were attending the funeral virtually.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, we would have Zoom calls every evening where we would do like bhajans, like the prayers, and there were like hundreds and hundreds of people on those calls as well.
Yeah.
Even that, just getting the courage to put on the appropriate clothes and going there. Do you know what? Even then, I used to wear a white chunni, and that's because I was sad and I felt that I wanted to.
Yeah.
But even then, my mom was like, stop wearing that. You don't have to wear it. You don't have to wear it. But I just wore it every time.
Yeah, because you just feel like it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, mom was like, you literally don't have to wear this.
Yeah. And Dulari, obviously, like when your son Ram would have been born, and obviously like you navigating through life, like you've had to hold the grief, and then you've had to, I suppose, hold the joy and the love. How do you do that? Because I think a lot of people in your situation would honestly just, and you probably have completely broken down, of course, right? But just not have found the courage to like continue.
Yeah. I think the way I saw it was, he is the most beautiful, beautiful little baby.
So cute.
And such a wonderful soul that God has brought to me. And he deserves the best in life.
Yeah.
He's started life without getting the chance to meet his father. What he deserves is the best that I could give him as his mother. In order to do that, I need to build myself back up to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
So that I can pour that into him. And that's why I just was working on myself. I was like, you need to work on yourself. You need to bring yourself back for him. Because how can you give him what he deserves if you're half a person, if you're a shell of a person? He's only got one parent.
Yeah.
So give him the best parent he could possibly ask for. Give him everything. I wanted to give him the excitement that Xian would give him. Xian would get excited about things that I would not get excited about. And I was like, do you know what? I want him to feel that. I want to be the parent that throws him up in the air and catches him. I wouldn't be that person. He would have been that person.
Yeah.
Like Xian was super fun and athletic, and he would just do things. And I'm like a couch potato that just doesn't want to do anything. And I was like, well, I don't want to be that person for him. Like, that's not fun for a kid.
Yeah.
So that's why I went in the gym. And I've never been a gym girl in my life. I walked into that gym. I said, I would like a personal trainer. I met with someone who's my close friend now, Claire. And I started training with her twice a week, and I built up all my strength. And then I went up to 3 times a week.
Oh, wow.
I did that literally for like 2 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And she asked me at the start, she was like, why do you want a personal trainer? Why do you want to do this? And I gave her 3 reasons, or she asked for 3 reasons. And I think I said, I want to feel happier. I want to help my mental health. I want to be healthier. And I said, I want to be strong enough to hold my baby as he grows. Yeah. Like, he was always a chunky baby. Like, he's a big baby. And I'm like, he's only going to get bigger. And I was like, I want to be strong enough as he grows. And I want to be able to carry him. And she was like, okay. And that was why I went there. And even now, I was, okay, I can't do it for long, but I'll still launch him around. I'll carry him. I'll put him on my shoulders, because I don't want him to, I want him to feel excited and happy that when my niece and nephew go on my brother's shoulders, or he goes on my brother's shoulders. Yeah. Like, there is another person as well that will do it. Yeah. And I will be the other person. Like, my sister-in-law was pregnant, then my other sister-in-law was pregnant. Like, I was the stronger one. Yeah. And I was happy. I was proud. I'm like, I can do that as well.
Yeah, I love that so much. And obviously you mentioned, Dulari, like you said, becoming the best version of yourself and working on yourself. What has that looked like behind the scenes? What kind of things have you done to really help and support yourself?
So when I moved back home to Essex with my family, and I got cleared to go to the gym. At that point, I was like, that's where I want to find myself again. And I joined the gym, and I got a journal, the 5-minute journal. Yeah. And I started doing that because it's just like morning and night. Yeah. And I found that really helped. And blogging, I guess. I say blogging. I don't have a blog, but I would write all my feelings down. And I would post captions on my Instagram. Yeah. Yeah. And it was like a big outlet for me. Yeah. That helped me a lot, actually, because I didn't really enjoy speaking about it with people. Not because I didn't want to speak about it, but because I was speaking about it platonically and matter-of-factly, like how we're speaking now. Yeah. But other people were in maybe a different stage of their grief or dealing with it differently, and it might make them sad, or it might make them feel sad for me. Whereas that wasn't what I wanted from that conversation at that time. I didn't want to make someone else sad by telling them how I'm feeling, but that was how I'm feeling. Like, facts are facts. Yeah. The words that were coming out of my mouth would make people sad.
Yeah, of course.
But that was true to me. That was my life. But if I wrote it on Instagram, I could then turn my phone off. And yeah, people would write really lovely comments back to me. And the same things they would probably say to my face that I didn't want to hear in person. But I could turn it off. And then when I'm ready to read that, I could read it. If you're having a conversation with someone, you would stop. You're like, oh, this person is getting really upset. Do you know what? Today, before I come here, I went to a laser appointment, laser hair removal. And I had a new person doing my laser. And literally towards the end of my appointment, she was asking me like a few personal questions, and I was talking about Ram. And she was saying, oh, you're tired, you should get a massage. I was like, oh, it's difficult for me. And then I was like, oh, I'm a single mom. Like, my husband passed away. Yeah. And she was like, oh. And then I just literally in like a sentence told her what happened. And she couldn't continue the appointment. She got so sad. Oh. And she started crying.
Oh my God.
And she just had to take a minute. And she's like, I just need a minute. I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, take a minute. Like, don't worry. And I'm like, this does affect people.
Of course. I think when I watched something on your Instagram, I definitely like had a tear when I first found out like about your story. Cause I was like, I just think it's so obviously so tragic what you went through. Of course it is. But I think you dealing with it as well and being like an Asian woman who's dealing with it, I think it's a lot, you know, the cultural nuances, society in general. It must have been so difficult. But I think the way you just like, you know, like present yourself is just so inspiring.
Yeah, thank you.
Because you're just always, I've had obviously various different interactions with you over the last few months because of our event and stuff. You're just so like sweet and kind and just like really like bubbly. And I'm just like, oh, this person's just so nice.
Thank you.
And did you think, Dulari, you ever went through like depression in that process? Yeah.
Yeah. I suffered with postnatal depression.
Yeah.
At the same time as when I let my grief out. It was very, very difficult. I would not be where I am today if I didn't have the support and love that I did from my family.
Yeah.
So I am here with the strength that I have, and I'm able to speak about things the way I speak about it because of the support I did get from my family and continue to get. I'm still living with them now.
Yeah. And do you think that will be like a long-term thing? You stay with them? Yeah. You're not leaving anytime soon.
I like it there.
And did you ever go through any kind of like, you know, like grief therapy or anything like that?
I was told initially, very, very, very early on, I think within the first 3 or 4 days, to speak to my GP and get some counselling.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I went through it. I called the GP and I just didn't feel like I gained anything from the conversation. Obviously, the GP is not the counsellor.
Yeah.
They're not trained for it. But I didn't feel like I gained anything from the conversation. I actually led the entire conversation with the GP because they didn't really know what to say.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know what? I'll get in touch when I feel the need to. And I felt like I was so angry at the time that I wasn't in a space to receive. I feel like if you're going to do something like this, you need to be in a space to be able to listen and receive. And I was not in that space. I was very, very angry. And I knew that if I did something like this, I would end up feeling patronized.
As in angry of obviously the situation.
I was angry at the situation.
Yeah.
And I just knew that I wouldn't receive very well someone telling me how to feel or how to deal with my emotions. Yeah. So I was like, this isn't the time for me. And I was like, they're going to tell me things to do that I already know. I'm already making changes. I started a new Netflix series to keep me busy, something to look forward to.
Occupy your mind.
Yeah. I did the journaling. I was like, I'm gonna join a gym. Like I was like, these are the things that I'm setting myself up for. And if I feel like I come to like a hurdle or a crossroad, I can get the help. But so far, I've not felt like I've needed it. I don't feel like I'm not ready anymore, but now I feel like maybe I don't need it just yet. But the door is still open. Like, if ever I feel like I need that, like I'm like, okay, now's my time. Now's the time I'm going to need this.
And I think even like when I've been going through grief previously, like I've just found it you're so right, like having family members who knew that person and like sharing stories and how you feel, I think that's just so powerful in itself. Like,
and I've without realizing, I've built a community of people that never met me or Shyam, but they love him. They love Shyam, and they get to see the side of Shyam that was like my side of him, because I love to take videos. If I see someone doing something that is just something that I enjoy, I'll take a video because I'll probably watch that 5 times later again that day. And I've posted those types of things like of him, like in his memory, or early on, those are the videos that were just keeping me going. I would just watch them again and again, and then I would just post them. And people see that fun side to him.
I've seen some videos. They're just so sweet and cute, like all the good ones that you've posted. In terms of like, Dulari, obviously you are managing so much right now. Obviously you're a mum. And I know you get a lot of family support, but like, how do you like manage it all? Any kind of tips?
I think like preparation is so key.
Being organised.
Timeliness. Like, so for example, today I needed to be catching a 7:00 train to get into London on time. The nursery opens at 7. So like there was an issue there. So my brother Ritesh, he was like, don't worry, I'll drop you to the station. So I was like, okay, I was prepping Ram the night before. We need to drop me to the train station. We need to wake up early. So I got him ready on time to drop me to the train station. And then, so I can go. My brother would then take him to nursery. So that's like, he got up probably an hour and a half earlier than he would normally, because he's been going to nursery later because I've found a job that works around him.
Yeah.
I found my hours that work around him. I'll have breakfast with him at 8:00, then I'll drop him and then I'll go to work.
Yeah.
So I was like literally prepping myself this whole weekend. Like my outfit was ready.
Oh, wow. So that
my handbag was ready.
Oh.
His nursery bag was ready. Everything was ready for the morning because I'm like, I'm leaving first thing and I can't go without anything. Like if I forget my phone charger or something, I need to get back home. So now I'm like, I make lists, prepare. I am lucky enough to be able to dictate my working hours and I work it around him. I finish at 4 so I can pick him up.
Yeah.
And he goes to bed at about 6-ish. So I need to pick him up earlier.
Yeah.
So I just literally pre-plan as much as I can. And even now, I'm like getting to a point now where I feel like I'm getting a grip of my life a little bit more. And I feel like I'm going to be able to plan even better.
Yeah.
Even just like planning his clothes ahead. If I know he's going to be going somewhere at the weekend, makes a huge difference. If I know we're going somewhere, I will pack the bag, like his nappy bag, at any point during the week.
Yeah.
And be like, that's ready to go for that day. Yeah. His swimming bag will be packed and ready. As soon as the clothes are washed, the swimming bag is repacked and ready to go for the next week.
Yeah.
Like everything is just ready. Because especially when you live in such a big family, what I found when he was younger is it's like, oh, we're going out now. Everyone go. And like with us girls, we're like, we need to get the bag ready. Like what the baby's going to need. They needed milk feeds. They needed toys. They needed nappies. So it was like, okay, let's keep it ready. Let's keep it ready.
Yeah.
So that you don't feel like you're constantly chasing your own tail.
Yeah.
I just think preparation and planning and thinking about your week ahead. Think about what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And only recently I've started using my calendar on my phone so much better. Like it's so useful and so helpful.
Yeah. That's what I do. I have to have my Google Calendar and just looking at the week ahead and thinking, okay, I've got this event on Saturday. Okay, Friday, I've got to do this. And also looking for bottlenecks as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I look at my diary and I'm like, that's not going to happen. That's not possible.
Yeah. Like even at home, like I don't do any cooking or anything like that because I'm just not good at it. Yeah, I don't do any cooking. But if I am helping out, I'll be like, okay, guys, what is the plan for today? What actually needs to be made and how do you make it? They're like, okay, we need to chop this and this and this. Okay, right. I'm going to chop all of those things and keep them in a bowl. Do they need to be in separate bowls or do they need to be together? And then I'll know, okay, this part's done. So when we get a free moment without the kids, someone can like do the vakar and cook it and whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, let me know. If I know what actually needs to be done, I can fit little parts in and I can be like, that's ready to go.
Yeah.
But I used to be scared to do that because I was scared to get back in the kitchen.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas now I'm not scared to get in the kitchen. I can literally ask, how do you make this? Okay, I can do this. I know I can do this, but leave that bit to me. I'll get that done.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that, Dulari. I know everyone's going to find that so helpful. So I just can't believe this conversation has gone so quickly. But I wanted to ask you actually, have you got like, if someone's, and obviously everyone's going to be different, and this doesn't apply, I suppose, specifically to grief, but if anyone is navigating a really difficult situation, like it might be postpartum, it might be depression, it might just be anxiety, I guess, or poor mental health, like what are kind of like the 3 tips you would give them, do you think?
It's a really good question. I think it's really useful to write down how you're feeling. Even if you don't want to tell anyone else, it really helps you process your feelings.
I agree.
Movement is so key. Go for a walk every single day, go to the gym, do something that you're capable of doing. Get some movement in your day. You have no idea just how much of a difference that makes to your mood. It's not going to solve your problem. It's not going to take away your pain, but it will help you enjoy your day better. And like I said, I was taking one day at a time.
Yeah.
And the third thing is, I think you just need to remember to be kind to yourself. Like, allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and don't beat yourself up about it. You're going through something and it's crap. Like, this should have never happened to you. It is awful. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to shut down some days. You're allowed to have down days. But don't let it be your permanent state. I would have down days and I'm like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to try again. And I'm going to try really hard tomorrow. So if you're having a down day, let it be your down day. Respect it. Respect your emotions. Really try again tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that so much, because obviously nothing compared to you, but I think last year I went through a really difficult patch. Like, we had my uncle pass away, just navigating all of that. And then it was like my dad got diagnosed with Parkinson's. Then my brother-in-law ended up in ICU, nearly died. Like, we said our goodbyes, so it was all going to be final. But by some miracle, he survived. And it was just it was like one thing after another. Like, Q4 last year, me and my husband always say, like, the worst part of our life ever, and some other stuff which I haven't shared online. But it was just so difficult. And I shared this on my event as well. But I think, yeah, you're so right. It can become your permanent state. And you can really get into, for me, like, I was getting into victimhood. But I was like, I can see how people end up in a permanent state. Like, I can, because it only takes a couple of things to go wrong. And you're like, why is this happening to me? Like, did I get, I don't believe in nazar, but did I get nazar? Is it bad energy? Was it because things were going so well? But it's like, actually, it's just life. Like, sometimes things just happen and there's no explanation. You know, and it is really difficult. Obviously, with your situation, completely different, Dulari. Mine's like nowhere like yours, but
no, everyone goes through their own things.
Yeah.
And if you're going through something and if it's hurting you, it's very real and it's real to you.
Yeah,
you can't compare people's situations. It was a difficult time for you.
Yeah, 100%. And you're so right, because otherwise, if you don't do anything to change it, it does just take over, doesn't it?
I think you have to remember to love yourself. And the worst thing you could ever do to yourself is allow yourself to see your own self as a victim.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing you could do, is let yourself be a victim.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I was so sure that I wanted to make sure that my son never grew up to feel like a victim. Like, that's it. It's a big concern for me. I don't want him to grow up feeling like he's a victim of life because something bad happened to him.
Yeah.
I want him to grow up strong and happy and proud.
Yeah.
That's how I want him to be, not a victim.
Yeah, I love that.
And I never want to be a victim either.
Yeah, I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dulari. So where can everyone find you on socials? Where are you hanging out?
I'm just literally on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I think I'm on TikTok, but I'm a bit old for TikTok. It's @_Dulari is my Instagram account.
Oh, thank you so much, Dulari, for coming on today. I feel like there could be a part 2, because the time just went so quickly. But thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you for having me. I had a really nice time.
Thank you.